Okay, everybody, cue spoon and music in three, two, one. Hello, guys, and welcome to the SpewnedIt podcast. My name is Joel Brown here with my good friend Jensen Anderson. We are far away from each other, all like across the globe, but we've decided to do this podcast to basically stay in touch and to just basically chat about cool things. Okay, now, I mean, Jens, how are you doing today, man? I feel like we don't usually just check in on the other person at the start of the podcast, and I mean to ask you how you're doing.
I am doing well. I just finished my work week. I'm feeling good. As soon as that record button starts going, I kind of get like a new burst of energy. It's like noon right now. I'm kind of mid-morning, slept in, was working late last night. So nice to have a bit of break, have a bit of time, and then get back into the podcast. Always excited. How are you, man? How are things?
Yeah, man. I'm doing okay. Funnily enough, it's almost the opposite of me. So, I'm about to get into my working segment of the week. So I mean, I suppose I'm looking forward to it. Just basically keeping busy at the moment is nice with everything that's going on. So, I also recently got my car. So how was it like? It can't have been that long ago when we were speaking. I was in the process of it, and I've been in this process for honestly years. But I finally managed to secure the deal. But it was still such a faff, right? So the whole thing. So I had to drive to this place just outside Nottingham, which is relatively close, right? It's not too far away at all.
Nottingham, yeah, sure.
Nottingham must have been like a 20-25 minute drive. Anyway, so we can't find the place. We go to like where it says on Google Maps, nothing there. We asked someone who was just driving past, we're like, "Yo, have you seen this place?" They're like, "Never heard of it before." And we're thinking, right, this is just brilliant. Okay, we've just been completely scammed out of our minds with this thing. Anyways, we work around it. It turns out that there was just like a solid wall, and it was over on the other side of the solid wall. So, anyways, we had to go around. That was fine. Like speak about the car. That's all okay. The car's fine. We speak to the guy, and he shows us the car, and the back wheels are off at this moment in time. And I'm thinking I prefer if the car has four wheels, right? That'd be better. And he said, yeah, don't worry about it. It's just that the handbrake has frozen because it's been so cold, and the car hasn't moved for like a while. So the handbrake froze, and I'm thinking, he could just be lying there because I have no idea. I didn't know that was a thing. Anyway, so he said he was like, I'm just going to keep working. So me and my mate go away, and I ask him, I was like, do you know about anything about this freezer handbrake? He's like, no, not too sure. We call his dad just to see, and he's like, yeah, don't worry, it's a real thing. No. So anyways, we do everything, and he says to me, he's like, look, like let's fill out all the paperwork now, and then I'll bring the car to you, and then that's when we'll finalize it all up. And so we drive back, and I'm expecting to get the car, some point that afternoon. I think I'm working the next day as well when I get it. So I'm like, right, well, ideally it's got to come today. So I get a message from him later on saying, yo, it's not coming today. Like, when's the next time you could do? So I'm about to start like my work in 4 days. So I'm like, right, well, mate, I can't do for ages now. Anyways, finally get my hands on it. And I mean, I all respect to my car. It's rubbish, right? It's awful. It's so bad. And obviously other first car buyers out there, and Jens, yourself as well. My expectation weren't too high. And obviously I love my little car. Like, it's so good. But there are little things that you just avoid because you're like, I don't want to think about that because I know my car isn't the best. But it's nice having a car. I think it's just that feeling of freedom. Like was there anything major that was wrong with your car from day one?
No. Well, I mean, when I got it like didn't have any gas, so I had test driven it around a little bit. I was there with my friend, and then like I went back, purchased it, and I was feeling great. And then I happened to, I don't know why I didn't like notice this before, but anyway, I paid. There's probably some better way of doing this, but I literally just paid like out of my bank with my debit card, and so the bank is like, oh, here's like the largest amount of money you've ever paid for anything. That's all you can spend for the day, and so I went, and then I go to the gas station, and I can't use my card because it's it's frozen, and I don't have a credit card at this point. So, and the other thing is, Dylan has already driven off with the van that we used to get here. So I'm like, I'm about to like call him and be like, hey, can you come back and like pay for a couple gallons of gas so I can get home? Because we're a solid, it's like 80 miles back home at least. It's a solid hour and a half, 2 hours in the rain.
That's a trek, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit far. It's a bit far. So I'm about to call him, and I look at my wallet. I have like, it was something really specific. It was like $12 in like ones and five, and I like go up there, and I never even paid for cash for gas before. I'm like, hey, can I have $12 and 37 cents on like pump 3? And she's like, sure, does it fill up enough to get home? As far as mechanically, not really. The tires were a bit worn, and I had those replaced.
Funnily enough, the same thing happened with me with the empty fuel tank. So it was, I mean, I can't remember how long I'd had the car at this point, but I obviously hadn't had time to fill it up because obviously I was at work, so I barely drove it. And then this one day, so the plan was that I was going to head to my mate's place, and then we would head off to work from there. And so the car hadn't been filled up by this point.
In
so
your car, you were taking to work?
No, so I'd go to there, and then we drop my car off there, and then we take the company car from there.
Gotcha.
And so I'm driving there, and the needle is below the red, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing. I'm running on pure fumes at this point, and I know for a fact that the petrol station is 5 minutes away. But at the start of the drive is a pretty decent hill, and so I'm thinking this is where it could all go wrong. The rest of it was kind of downhill. There was a little incline, but the whole way, I didn't even have music on because I was so freaked out. I was like, I cannot focus right now. Like I need to stay calm, get to the petrol station, and I'll be fine. And this is also like at 6:30 in the morning, so I haven't really woken up yet. I'm driving a brand new car. Man, the stress. But since filling it up, I think it's still above like 3/4, and I've been driving all over the place, just having a car. So yeah, it's just a nice thing to have, really. But I mean, I can't wait for like my second car. I feel like that's going to be quite a big. Because do you already like? I'm already thinking about that. I hope the car isn't listening and you'll get jealous. But like, what would you want for your second car? Like, have you thought about that at all? Because obviously you started off with a Mustang, which is pretty high tier for a first car.
Yeah.
And then what, like, would you go from like a muscle to an exotic or a tuner?
Before I answer that, I do want to ask you what kind of car you ended up getting, because if you've been listening a while, for all our OG viewers, we talked about this back in like October of 2020, November. It was season 1, back in the day. And you were looking at Renault Clios, I believe, was what you were aiming for, and that's a memorable car from something we'll talk about later. But so what did you end up with?
So yeah, I mean, like you say, Jensen, like the OG listeners will remember, I was looking at kind of like a Ford Fiesta, Renault Clio type of thing. I had my eye on a Hyundai Getz, which I hadn't even heard of as a car before, but that was looking all right, like a cheeky little hot hatchback. Mm-hmm. I love those type of cars. They're nice, they're cheap, they're easy to run, and they're good. So, anyways, what I ended up getting was a Chevrolet Kalos. I never thought I'd own a Chevrolet, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so apparently because. So I think it was around the time that the car was built, the mechanic was telling me about this. Like, I think it was Ford or VW bought Chevrolet. It might be VW. Anyways, and so like a lot of the parts are VW, which I thought was, or Ford, or whichever one it was, which is quite cool. But yeah, like it was a car that a lot of these cars, because I've had to like scrape relatively the bottom of the barrel, I'm finding out cars that I had no idea existed. Like the Hyundai Getz, no idea. Chevrolet Kalos. Kalos sounds like a Greek god or something. Do you know what? Like, I had no idea what this car was. But it's all right. I'm not even sure how many horsepower it has or how many it's lost over the course of its life. But you know what? It's a decent little car. It gets from A to B. The clutch is terrible in first gear, but
is it manual,
very easy
by the way,
to
or
maneuver
automatic?
in the rest of them. Man, it's manual. Come on.
Nice. That's
Come
fun.
on,
That's
man.
fun.
Yeah,
I
no,
do
it's
hope
good.
to own a
It's a
manual
good time.
someday. To be a little fact check for you, Chevy is actually
Go on.
owned by General Motors, so it's neither one of the neither one of
No,
the two.
but wait, who owns GM? Because I swear
Isn't
I
GM
swear,
like the top? It's one of the
I thought
two.
VW
it's
was one of
Ford
the
and
biggest.
GM are fierce competitors. It says Ford
maybe it
Motor
was
Company
GM.
and Chevrolet, which is owned by General Motor Companies. I don't think
Fair enough.
VW own. I don't know. Well, anyway.
There we go.
Who knows?
Anyways, well, I was just wrong. But yeah. So I mean, it's cool. It's nice to have a car. Like obviously
Yeah,
the siblings
absolutely.
are very, very excited about it. And yeah,
Driving
it's
them to
just
football
nice.
practice.
Footy practice
Footy
and
practice.
to the
You don't even
to
have
the
that,
pub
huh?
and
Everything's
no.
closed.
Well,
Yeah.
we can barely even go outside at the moment. So
Tough.
having a car is a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
But yeah, back onto the second car. Like, are you already thinking ahead about that, or is that not something you're touching for the moment?
I definitely have. I do anticipate driving this for a while. It's approaching 200,000 miles. Who knows when it's gonna like break down more significantly than I can fix on my own or is worthwhile to fix. But so far, I mean, I've replaced a number of things. The radiator, harmonic balancer. That was a tough one.
Well, yeah, because you've done all sorts
Brakes.
of stuff with Dylan. Because I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
I think I was there when you guys were fixing the brakes. That was a sick day.
That was fun. That was a good time. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to work on cars. I don't know, you feel accomplished, you get something done, you're saving money because like you're doing it yourself. It's fun and it's a learning thing. Yeah. So all that to say, I don't know how long I can keep this running. I imagine a couple years, but it also kind of depends, where I'm going to live. That's kind of up in the air a little bit as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to move somewhere else. And along those lines, I've been thinking like, well, if I am going to move somewhere else, I might need something a little more sturdy, something 4-wheel drive. We recently had a big snowstorm here, and I missed 2 days of work because my car was just stuck in my driveway. Literally,
I remember seeing a video of that, and you could barely see it, let alone get in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was more snow than the car had ever seen, and I valiantly tried to get to work. I was up at like 4 a.m. because I knew there was so much snow, and I tried to dig myself out. I like brushed all the snow off the car, dug out behind it, and then got back to the car, and it was already covered in snow again. Like the front windshield and stuff. Yeah, it was like that. That's how heavy it was coming down.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, yeah, there's no way. And I did try. I moved it about like 2 feet, and then it was just couldn't do anymore.
Not going.
So anyway, yeah. To answer your question, I have definitely thought about second car. I would love to just save up more money, get a newer Mustang, better Mustang. There's an electric blue that they have for those that I love. It's like this powder blue. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's such a great color. And they have them for even some of the, I didn't think they had it as early as like, I don't remember when I was looking, like 2010 or something, but like, not terribly new. And so therefore more affordable. But that would be an incredible one to have. I would love that. I parked, I worked the other day, I parked next to like a newer black Mustang, and I took a picture because I was like, hey, older brother.
Yeah.
Older brother, younger
No, that's very cool.
But yeah, apart from at the moment, I'm thinking another Mustang. Who knows, family, kids. It's not a great family car because the back seat is just minuscule. But
I mean, it's a cool car to have as a dad, but it's like you said, it's not a family car. It's almost
Not
like
a
the car
family
you have on the side is like a little joyride now and again.
Or your daily commuter car, which is what it's been for me, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So yeah, looking at trucks, I don't know. It really just kind of depends on when my car dies, what I have in terms of finances, whenever that happens, and where I'm gonna live is another big factor.
Well, I mean, obviously, we'll be hoping we'll be hoping the best for your car, and we're wishing it all the best. Yeah. 200,000 kilometers.
Almost.
Miles.
Getting there, yeah.
That's hefty. That's quite the mileage. I think I got quite lucky with my car. I think mine's below like 60k. I think mine's at 50 something, which
that's crazy. That's so low.
Which is really good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I think is why it was, that was almost its main selling point. I think I'd quite like to stick with hot hatchbacks for the meantime. Maybe the next few years, because even if I have a kid, like it's all right to like you'd be able to fit like a booster seat or whatever in the back, and they're so good, they're so fun to drive, and they're very like the boot space is decent. yeah, I think what I'd quite like to get is just some sort of an upgrade. I'd love to get my hands on like a proper Renault Clio or like a nice Ford Fiesta as well, or a Ford Focus, of course.
Golf? Into the Volkswagen Golfs and all? I like the
Yes.
sport ones a lot. They're really cool, I think.
The which ones?
Like the Golf sport models.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
The newer
I'd quite
ones.
like to get a VW Scirocco. They were quite nice. I feel like that was a bit of a one-off, but honestly, I think it looks so nice. And then because they've got there was and then was it not the Polos? There was almost one that was like the younger brother, which I drove once. I hired out a car to drive to London, and just to move some stuff for like a day, 2 days, and it was a wicked drive. It was so nice. It was tiny, but obviously because it was just me, it was really good. So like, and yeah, the version smaller than the VW Golf, which I think is called the Polo. So nice. I'd love to get my hands on one of those as well. But yeah, I reckon I'll stick with a similar sort of vibe for the moment. And then, I mean, see where to go from there, really. But it's just so exciting to have a car and to just be in that, like, environment, Like, I see other car people, and I'm like, yo, you've got a car too. I've also got a car. We both got cars. Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things, it only happens sometimes, but one of my favorite things is when there's another Mustang coming at me, and they do the little wave. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a cool feeling. Cause it's like, yo, the muscle connection. I don't
Mustang
know.
Brothers.
It's fun. It's happened a few times. I've heard that there's Dylan would always drive around in his Jeep, and the Jeep wave I think is a much more common occurrence. They're much more likely to do the wave at each other than the Mustang. But I've definitely had multiple interactions when driving at a Mustang.
That is nice. That's cool. I've only ever seen one other like car of mine around, like where and I didn't get I think I was at work at the time, so I didn't get. If I just waved, that might have just been a bit weird. They were like, "Who are you?" But I had a mate of mine, or I do still have a mate of mine in New Zealand, who he had a lovely Lexus, like a cruiser of a car. We used to call it like the presidential vehicle or something, because it was so nice. The ride was gorgeous, and in the back there was all sorts of luxury. And I think there was like 3 or 4 around the small city we were living. And so he would tell me, he'd be like, oh yeah, that's so and so, and like they do the thing every time they pass. And I mean, it's just cool, it's nice to be like part of that community, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice. It's just nice to have entered that world, really. I can't wait for my next car already. I just need to get a few years of no crashes so that I can claim some money off the insurance, and then we're good to go, because insurance is a lot of money. As a young man, they really take it out of you.
Risky boys.
But so, well, because obviously, I mean, you'd have to be, you wouldn't be able to read people very well to know that me and Jensen are obviously massive like car fan people. And so looking back, Jensen, on maybe 1 or 2 really memorable cars, whether or not it's in real life or in a video game, would you be able to limit it down to 2 cars where you're like, yo, this car has a special place in my heart?
Why don't, for the purpose of this exercise and time, why don't we stick to real life, and just to make it a little easier, and then maybe in a future episode we can get into the video games, because we'll have a whole another half an hour to talk about that, I'm sure.
We will.
So yeah, let's see. I'd have to. The first one that comes into my head is my grandpa, my late grandpa, died about a year ago, and he had a Nissan 350Z. It was a convertible. It was really cool. It was like a 2-tone. It had like light silver on the top half and dark silver on the bottom, kind of a bullet gray actually. And it was so cool. It was dope. It was a manual. And that was just his joyride car. And he's always been a car person. He had a bunch of like broken down Austin Healey parts in his garages and stuff.
Yeah.
And that car is always really special, because he tried to teach me how to do manual one time on it, and then the other thing is he wouldn't let hardly anyone drive it. He let my mom drive it, and that was like pretty much it. And then he tried to teach me how to drive it, and that was kind of a big deal, because my mom's like, yo, he doesn't even let your aunts drive that. Like that's his car. You're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And then one time I took Dylan. He needed some work done on it. We were gonna change, I think, the transmission fluid or something. and so I took Dylan over there and met up with him, and that was really cool. And then he let us take the car and go do work on it. And in the meantime,
So
Dylan taught me how to drive stick with it, which is a really cool memory for me and him. And then
oh, nice,
just
man. That's amazing.
Grandpa trusting us to use it, and we brought it back, and he's like, did he teach you, give you some lessons? I was like, yes, he did. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's probably the number one that's always gonna stick in my memory. And that car had a tragic end, but anyway, it's all
What
good.
a car!
So
I think I remember
Nissan
seeing that car maybe
350Z.
like once.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
What
I think
a
I showed it to you
car.
when we were over there. Yeah.
I think you did, yeah. I mean, yeah, like how many to choose from, really. One of them that really does stick out. Unfortunately, I never got to fully drive the car, but I mean, we were in the UK visiting some family friends at the moment, and then I think some people said that they were going to come by, and I didn't really know these people. I knew that they were good friends of my parents, and I believe it was from quite a while ago, and they were basically just coming to say hi, to visit, and so they come to the door, they say hi, and it turns out they've pulled up in like a Aston Martin DB9, right?
What?
And so because I think what it was is that they were never able to have kids, bless them, so they obviously spent the money on themselves in the form of a nice car, and I'm like, logic, I like it. Anyway, so I'm seeing, like, I've got to get in that car. I really have to get in that car. So I think what I must have done, I mean, hopefully I didn't do this, but from what I remember, I just basically went really wide-eyed and just stared at the car until, like, someone said something, because I was being so weird and awkward. And so basically they let me get in the driver's seat of the car and turn on the engine and rev it just on the street. And so I got a video of this as well, and I lost it. So I'm revving and just loving it. And like I said, unfortunately, I never got to drive the car. Obviously no surprises there, because I probably would have crashed and hurt the car, let alone myself, but who cares? So anyways, that was a very special memory of, like, oh my gosh, I love cars so much. Like, this is just such a nice feeling. And yeah, I've never seen those people again. So, like, I hope that if you're listening, I hope you're well. And, if you ever want to pass on the Aston Martin, that you know where I am. But yeah, man, I think cars are they're a brilliant thing, and I'm so happy to have a car finally and just start my car journey into the wilderness. You know
Yeah.
how it is.
I know, dude. I've been there. It's a good time. Quite
is a good time.
adventure. Lots of opportunities. The freedom is so nice, though. It's just like, you can get, if you wanted to, you can go drive wherever you want. You can drive. I guess you're on an island, though, huh? I was going to say you could drive to the...
That's pretty cold.
I was going to say you could drive to the next country over because Europe is so small, but I was like, oh, wait, no, never mind.
Psych! He lied.
I can drive across country if I want to.
Yeah, I mean, you can
250
drive
miles
for
at a
literally
time.
as
My
long
gas
as you
tank is so
can. Yeah.
small. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. If I had to say one downside, that is what it is. Is the range is not. It's not great.
Not ideal. I haven't worked out what my range is yet, actually. But I have worked out that it only takes about 40 pounds to fill, which is really quite nice. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. It's probably only like 50, maybe 60. I don't think it's quite 1.5 on the exchange rate, but so it's probably about 50.
$56. It says.
Not bad. I was close.
Not bad. Yeah, mine's
but yeah,
like
no, like
40. But
like you
yeah,
said,
again,
it's
my
just a
range is
massive
like
amount.
small.
It's just a massive amount of freedom. Well, and your car is a gas guzzler.
A guzzler, yeah.
It's a guzzler, dude.
That's one thing too. I have almost dating back to like when I bought the car. I have a notepad thing in my phone of I believe almost every single time I've filled up and how much and how far I've gone as well. So I know like exactly
pretty cool.
what so it's kind of cool, and like I can tell too, like when all I've been doing is going from home to work and back again, that I'm on the freeway the whole time, and so my gas mileage is like significantly higher. But if
massively.
If I'm driving around and going to if I've gone to a restaurant a couple times, or if I've gone home and back when I'm not able to go 60 plus, it shrinks away pretty quickly. So
I mean the car doesn't know what to do. It's like, what? It's a bend? What do you mean? I thought we didn't have bends in America. It's just straight lines everywhere.
Straight lines, dude. Pedal to the metal.
Amen. Honestly. Right. Well, I feel like this has been a very open-ended like question starter, because I obviously I'd love to speak more about this, but we do need to wrap it up. I just love talking about cars. I think we haven't done this in a while, so it was so nice to.
We have not. Yeah, it's been great, and we'll definitely have another style of this another podcast of this style in the future, and we have plenty more to say about cars, plenty more to say in relation to video games and other cars we've driven, haven't driven, and want to drive. So anyway, if any of you have any interest in cars, just leave it in the comment below. Tell us, what's your favorite car you've driven? Which one would you like? What do you own? What do you want to get? And yeah, I mean honestly, we can just wrap it up there. We've been going, and we can go on for another.
We've been going
hour
for
a
while.
But yeah,
Nice.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time.